going to call our Board of Selectmen meeting to order for April 22nd, 2025, and the time is 6:01, and we'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have a few announcements. This meeting is being recorded by the local scene. Anyone intending to make an audio or video recording of the meeting should notify the chair at this time. Seeing nobody. Financial assistance applications are available on the town's website or by calling the Selectmen's office. For anyone interested in volunteering, there are several vacancies on various committees and boards. To see a complete list of the openings, please visit our website at kingstonma.gov. Also, check our website for any additional events or notices. Again, it's www.kingstonma.gov. The Agricultural Commission is hosting Vegetable Gardening 101 on Wednesday, April 30th at 7 p.m. at the Council on Aging. Does anybody else have any other announcements? Missy, do you have anything for rec?
I think we'll wait for the,
Okay.
I have the dates, but we'll wait.
All right, at this point, we'll do open forum, so if somebody would like to speak.
Is green mean good?
Yes, yes,
Hello, my name is Will Cushman. Do I need my address?
yeah.
My name is Will Cushman, 273 Main Street, Kingston, Mass. I just want to say that not this Friday, Thursday and Friday coming, but not this Thursday, Friday, but next Thursday, Friday after this, Silver Stars Drummer Club at the high school is holding their annual spring play, Mamma Mia. I do not know the time, but I'll probably figure it out and let somebody know.
Oh,
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you so much. Would anybody else like to speak? No? Okay, we're just going to take a couple things out of order. First up is going to be the number 3 under additional items, consideration and possible approval of a 1-year employment contract with Deputy Chief Adam Hatch. So that is under 3. Does anybody have any questions? We do have the chief here and Adam's here. Does anybody have any questions? And if not, would somebody like to make a motion?
Do you want me to do it? Sorry. I move to approve the employment contract between the Town of Kingston and Deputy Fire Chief Adam Hatch as presented.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous, thank you. All right, and then we are also going to take, I think it's number 6. So consideration of early voting for annual town election. Keith, do you want to say anything about this?
Sure. Every year, starting with 2024, so this is the second year, I guess, the Board of Selectmen in Kingston have the ability to determine whether they're going to allow early voting for the local elections. Last year, the board chose not to allow early voting because the clerk at that point had said we've got a presidential election as well, and it's just going to be a lot going on. This year, the town clerk is again suggesting that there's not a need for early voting. If people are unable to come to the town election, you've got the ability to come to the townhouse just like you do in early voting. You're supposed to be either going to be out of town or ill or for some reason unable to attend the town election on Saturday. I'll say this without saying it, if you come in to vote, nobody's going to be asking for a notarized reason why you can't be at the town election. You'll certainly have the ability to vote absentee. So the town clerk's office is asking again to not approve early voting for the annual local elections this May.
Not to approve?
Not to approve.
Okay.
I move the Board of Selectmen not approve early voting for the May 2025 annual town election.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Awesome. And then number 7, request from the town clerk to approve and post the warrant for the Saturday, May 17th annual town election. So they're required by state law to accept and post the annual town election warrant. Our town clerk is recommending the election warrant be, it's included in our materials. So any questions or motion?
I move the Board of Selectmen approve and authorize the town clerk to post the annual town election warrant scheduled for Saturday, May 17, 2025, as presented by the town clerk.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. All right. Back to our 6 PM appointment. We have a public hearing. We have a petition from NStar Electric Company doing business as Eversource Energy, proposing to relocate poles, wires, cables, and fixtures on Marion Drive. Verizon New England and NStar is requesting permission to locate and relocate the poles, wires, cables, fixtures, and all the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures to be owned and used in common by petitioners along and across the following public way or ways in right-of-way Marion Drive. So the public hearing notice is hereby given that the Kingston Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on the petition, I think that's work order, 1503-9504 from NStar Electric Company doing business as Eversource Energy, requesting permission to locate and relocate poles, wires, cables, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures to be owned and used in common by your petitioners along and across the following public way or ways. 3 new FO poles, 552/2, 552/3, and 552/5, with push brace, back guy, and anchors in right-of-way of Marion Road. The hearing shall take place on Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025, and the meeting will begin at 6 p.m. in room 200 at the Townhouse, 26 Evergreen Street, Kingston, Mass. People interested are invited to attend and be heard in this matter. Would someone like to make a motion to open the public hearing?
I move the Board of Selectmen open the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are open. And we have somebody here. Just introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Julie Long from Eversource, and, as requested, we're requesting to put in 3 fully owned poles on Marion Drive.
So I have a question before I open up to the rest of the board here. Is this replacing current poles, or is it new?
No, so they are going to be 3 new poles.
Okay.
We had gotten a request from the owners of the turbine. There's poles and wires that are going down there that they are requesting that be moved onto the street, better access for us in the event. It won't affect any of the people who are currently on that circuit, and nobody would be interrupted for service when they do when they put the poles in and bring that service out to the street.
And dumb question, but the wires are going to go over the road? not-
It does pass over at
It
one
does-
point, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm just looking at the diagram.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody else have any questions? No. Anybody from the public here to speak during this hearing? No? Okay. Keith, do you have anything to add?
Oh, sir.
And can you correct me if I'm wrong, but Sean already took a look at this. He didn't have any concerns. So that's good. All right. If anybody would like to make a motion to close.
I move the Board of Selectmen close the open hearing.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's unanimous. All right, would anybody like to make a motion on approving the request or not approving it?
I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the request from NStar Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, permission to locate and relocate poles, wires, cables, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures to be owned and used in common by your petitioners along and across the following public way or ways. 3 new FO poles, 5522, 5523, and 5525, with push brace, back guy, and anchors and right-of-way of Marion Drive, or Marion Road, sorry.
Second?
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Sure. All right, next up is a request for change of officers for a liquor license at Regal Cinemas. They're requesting a change of officers. It was originally made and approved by the Selectmen on December 3rd, 24, but the ABCC requested additional information from Regal that was not provided and required Regal to submit a new liquor license application. Does anybody have any questions, comments? Anyone? Go ahead.
I move the Board of Selectmen approve the request from Regal Cinemas Incorporated, doing business as Regal Cinemas Independence Mall 14, for a change in officers for their all alcoholic beverages license.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, that's unanimous. All right, we're early, so we can't start the 6:15 public hearing yet. Let's look on real quick. We could do number, what's that? Number 4, approval of April licenses. Yeah, okay, here we go. Approval of April licenses, bowling and billiard table. We have a summary of all annual April license renewals that have been submitted by Kingston businesses. The summary also includes the type licenses then, that have been applied for each business. Any questions, comments, or a motion?
I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the annual licenses as printed in the meeting packet.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that one's quick. We still have 3 more minutes. The refinance an affordable living unit? Okay. So request to refinance an affordable living unit. The owners of the property at 27 Bogview Road purchased the property through an affordable living unit lottery through the Office of Housing and Livable Communities. The owners would like to refinance the property and are required to receive approval from the Board of Selectmen. Staff is recommending that the board approve the refinancing request. Does anybody have any questions or comments? All right. Anybody want to make a motion?
I move the Board of Selectmen approve the request from the owner of 27 Bogview Road to refinance their property with the following stipulations. The interest rate on the loan be a fixed rate. The principal loan amount should not exceed $242,000, and obtaining prior written approval of the Department of Housing and Community Development. Further, given the town administrator the authority to sign the letter notifying the property owner of the board's decision on behalf of the Selectmen.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. We're moving real quick. Got about 1 more minute. Is there anything else that's real quick? Do you want to do number 9, acceptance of donation to the Council on Aging and the Animal Control? Council on Aging and Animal Control have both received donations and are asking for the board to accept.
I move the Board of Selectmen accept the following donations to the Kingston Council on Aging in memory of Mary Bowman. $25 from Bruce Davenport, $50 from Barbara Holmes and Julie Fishman, $15 from S.G. Keeney, and $100 from Joyce and Jeffrey Stewart.
Second.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
No.
That's fine. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, next motion.
I move the Board of Selectmen accept the donation of a 10-by-10 pop-up tent estimated with an estimated value of $100 from an anonymous donor to Animal Control.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And we're at 6:15. Good timing. All right. So we have a public hearing for street acceptance. I'm going to read the notice. The Kingston Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing at the Kingston Townhouse, 26 Evergreen Street, Kingston, Mass., on Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025, at 6:15 to discuss acceptance of Timber Ridge and Sequoia Drive as shown on a plan entitled Tall Timbers Estates Phase 5, prepared by Mackenzie Engineering Group, dated September 5th, 2018. The plan may be viewed prior to the meeting at the Board of Selectmen office during regular business hours. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
I move the Board of Selectmen open the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are open. Keith, do you want to start, or do you want to, or is Val going to present
Sure. I
anything?
think maybe we'll double team if you want, Val. So the town and Valerie's been carrying the ball on this. We're notified, reached out to by the owners in the subdivision. They are looking to have Timber Ridge and Sequoia Drive become town roads. The subdivision is fairly new, so if you guys recall, if the board recalls, 2 or 3 weeks ago, typically there's an estimate that has to be determined on, what the engineers think it's going to cost to make improvements to the roadway. At that point, we need to have 50% of the property owners that this will affect sign off that they'll accept either a betterment or paying their share. Because these 2 roads are in such good shape and new, the need to have the initial review to determine what improvements need to be made doesn't need to happen. So what we're here tonight to do is to have a conversation with the property owners and the board, let the board know that at this point, the next step, if the board wants to move this along, would be to let the property owners know that the next step would be to have the property owners get 90% of the affected properties on the streets approval to accept the cost either over time or and it can be, and again, I just want to make sure it's clear. If somebody wants to pay over time and somebody wants to pay it all up front, they can do that. It doesn't have to be, it's not an all or nothing, and I think there was a question about that at the last meeting. But the impression that we have is the very high end of a cost is about $5,000. We expect it to be lower than that, but I'd rather tell you $5,000 tonight and have you come back in a few months and tell you it's $3,000 rather than the other way around. And if the board's interested and we can move and wants to move forward in this direction, we'll put the onus back on the owners of the homes out there and have them bring forward to us the 90% signatures of the property owners out there, and we can then start that process of bringing it forward, getting all the approvals, and with the idea that we might be able to bring it forward as early as this fall's town meeting, 6 months from now, give or take. Val, you got anything you want to jump in? You're more expertise in that.
No, I think that was pretty expert.
Wow. I've listened to too many of these then.
So I think, and I
But
think
when it-
what's
so-
important to know for anybody who's watching this later on or online, this doesn't cost the town anything now in terms of accepting those streets. It just means that in the future, the town would be responsible for paving those streets as well as plowing and taking care of them during the winter. Val, correct me if I'm wrong. And those roads are in fairly decent shape. That
They're
it would
brand
be,
new.
Yeah. So again, isn't that like 15 years before they would need to be resurfaced?
I think that's what Sean said at the
Yeah.
last hearing.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we say 90% of the signatures, what we mean is, if you can collect the signatures with a notary of 90% of you, and then that would be enough to satisfy that we can go ahead as staff and start that next step, which is the $3,000 to $5,000 that Keith mentioned is because state law requires that there be either a meets and bounds description, which is fancy talk for a surveyor describing the outline of the road, or we might have to do an as-built plan working off of the subdivision plan that we have, and that we think that's the cost that's going to be borne by you to have that be something that's recordable. And that's all it is. There's really nothing else that we expect to see.
If I could just jump in real quick,
Yep.
and again, this is just if you get to the point where you're interested in having signatures notarized, and this is a benefit, and this is just for ease of getting this done for you, if you want to find 2 or 3 dates or times, we've got notaries in the building. If people
I'm
want
one.
to come in, Valerie's one.
Yep.
If you wanted to come in, if you want to let either Valerie or I know, 2 or 3 nights where we would set 2 or 3 nights or afternoons where, we can make sure we're available, or Valerie's available to sign off as far as the notary goes, we can get that done here, so you're not having to figure out where you want to get that done. We are open until 6 o'clock on Tuesdays, so if that's convenient for people, that's great. If some of you are able to make it during the day, we can certainly set that up with you and just bring the paperwork in, and we'll get it notarized for you to make it a little bit easier for you.
Anything else you want to say?
Nope.
No. Any questions from this side?
No.
Actually, one question I have, I don't know if you know or if they know, have there been people, are there residents who don't want this? Like, are they part of the 10%? Or has everybody been positive so far?
Everybody's been positive so far.
Okay. All right. That
For the
makes
sake
sense.
of the people at home, he said everybody's positive so far.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Did anybody want to speak during the open, the public hearing? You're welcome to speak if you want to. If not, then
Yeah.
we'll move forward and vote. Okay. Any other questions? Or if you're going to speak, just go up, yeah, just introduce yourself. Thank you.
Nick Lancioni, 17 Sequoia Drive, and one of the trustees of the Homeowners Association. A few of the reasons that we would appreciate you guys consider us as a public way is, one, they're built to the town standards, and it was just finished in November of 2024. It's a cut-through now for Timber Ridge, for tall timbers, for running and biking paths, rather than utilizing Elm Street and South Street, which is, we know can be very busy. Out of the 34 residents in the neighborhood, almost 90% have children, and we do hope to keep them all in the town. And we just want to be able to ensure safe access for all public vehicles within our neighborhood. Thank
Nick,
you.
it's good to see you. It's been a long time.
How you doing?
How are you?
All right, any other questions? Before we make a motion, while I have you all here as a captive audience, what I was saying before in the announcements is we have a lot of open positions for volunteers and elected positions, so you guys are relatively new to town, maybe not, maybe you've moved from somewhere else, but we're all just residents here. You know, we've been, and I'm sure you guys are too, you know, coaching your kids and being involved in sports. But also, you know, there's school committees, there's a finance committee here that, and you don't have to be an expert at finance. There's all kinds of boards and committees, advisory boards that definitely need help. So if you're interested, take a look at our website, see what openings there are, and reach out. And if you have questions, you know, contact any of us. We're all our contact info is on the website as well.
Most crowds in here aren't happy, or so we can't make any plugs, but I think this is all going to work out, so he's making a nice sales plug since this is a happy and friendly room tonight.
I thought you were guilting him for a yes vote.
It's a recruiting event. Because we're not going to be doing this forever either, right?
Sure.
All right. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I move the Board of Selectmen close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move the Board of Selectmen approve the request from 34 South Street Homeowners Association Trust to move to the next step within the road acceptance policy.
Oh,
Up,
no.
Val.
It's gonna-
The next step. I heard you say the next step. I thought for a moment you were going to have them approved for the
No.
warrant, but, okay.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. Thank you all. All right, next item is our renewal of razor clam licenses and a request to reduce the number of available licenses and approve updated regulations. So annually, the Board of Selectmen awards up to 11 razor clam licenses. Similar to town moorings, razor clam licenses have historically been awarded to the license holders from the previous year unless they are no longer interested. The board asked the shellfish constable to recommend a minimum amount of shellfish to be harvested by each license holder to retain their license the following year. The shellfish constable is recommending that a minimum not be required since there is not a waiting line for a license, feeling it would be counterproductive to impose a minimum catch on them. On November 7th, 2023, the previous shellfish constable, Joe Zlogar, requested to increase the number of available razor clam licenses from 10 to 11 based on a drop in the razor clam harvesting effort since 2018. Mr. Cullivan is requesting that the number of available licenses be reduced to 9. Mr. Cullivan provided a memo in the board materials. There's currently no waiting list, and below are 9 current license holders. Also, Mr. Cullivan made a few updates to the regulations he would like approved. The red line document is also within the board materials. And just for note, the folks who are current license holders are Pamela Taylor, Thomas Taylor, Karen Webble, Matthew Webble, Ben Lansing, Scott McEnroe, John Webble, Jamie McEnroe, and Tyler Putney. Do we have any questions or comments?
I
Tyler.
have one question.
Okay.
There isn't currently a wait list, but there was, I feel like we talked about that. Was he going to try to enlist a wait list if needed, or no? I know he
If
came,
well, there is a wait list, there's just nobody on the wait list.
right, so he's going to continue to keep the wait list, right? It just wasn't clear. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
Dan can speak to it, but I know that, like, in the years past, because I was on it, like, I was
Yeah,
on a
yeah.
wait list for a couple of years.
Okay. That was my only question. I just didn't want, I wanted to make sure we still
Yeah, the last person
continued
that,
that.
that was on it was Tyler, the other Tyler, not me.
Okay.
And nobody's gone there since.
Got it.
Yeah.
That was it. That was all I had for questions.
Any other questions or comments?
No, I just think this is, I just want to say this is great work by Dan and getting everything up to snub and working with Duxbury and kind of getting information. It's been, I know you worked with Duxbury and talked to them and got information in the state. No, I think it's impressive, that's all. This is,
I didn't even see him walk.
something's been talked about for a while. So it seems like it's the right move to kind of, you're not kicking anybody off in the list, you're not, it's
Exactly.
just, it's
Yeah.
kind of the perfect storm to do it.
And to oppose a minimum catch without a wait list is, I mean, if somebody's willing to pay $300 for a license, who's to say you have to catch this much to keep it,
Right.
Right.
you know?
Yep.
So,
Yeah, and I think we could revisit that. I mean, if we do have a sudden surge on a wait list, we could certainly revisit that, but
Yep.
this makes sense to me. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I move the Board of Selectmen approve the renewal of 9 Razor Clam licenses of the individuals listed above for the term of July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. Set the license fee at $300 and reduce the number of available licenses to 9.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that
And
passed.
We have the regulations.
I move-
vote. I move the Board of
Oh, yeah.
Selectmen approve the updated razor claim regulations as presented.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
There we go.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, next item is authorization to advertise and appoint on the board's behalf one civil service lateral transfer to a full-time police officer. Chief Holmes is requesting authorization to advertise and appoint a civil service lateral transfer of a full-time police officer. This action is a fail-safe that would allow to appoint one full-time police officer in the event that something unexpectedly happens that prevents a full-time appointment of future new hires. There's a memo in our board materials. Chief, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, honorable members, Ms. Tucker. Everything should be explained in the email, as well as the material that you have. You'll notice there's no time frame on it, other than to talk about the fact that we have 2 that will be entering the police academy in the fall. If something happens with these folks, this would allow us to expeditiously recruit, appoint, and have the additional body to put a full-time SRO in the middle school without delay. The question about a lateral transfer has been raised a couple of times in the past. I think some of the members of the board I've talked to individually. I've definitely talked to Mr. Hickey. I did talk to the Finance Committee Chair about the possibility of using this, but this would be a fail-safe for us. And it would be in the event that something happened with any of our recruits going into the academy, in which case I would keep the board apprised of that.
Any questions or comments? No. Motion?
I move the Board of Selectmen authorize the Chief of Police to advertise and appoint a lateral transfer of one full-time civil service police officer on behalf of the board.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. All right, and,
Thank you. I should have given you a heads up. The lieutenant's presenting the other item for tonight.
okay,
My apologies.
and that's next, because we already did the other items. All right, so the next item is authorization to establish a range for firearms training and mandatory qualifications on town-owned property. And we do have a memo in our materials for this as well. All right, Lieutenant, you are up.
Thank you, sir. I believe we have a presentation as well that Mr. Elkenbright's going to pull up for me. First, I want to just thank the board for letting me be heard tonight on this. I also wanted to thank Mr. Hickey, Ms. Tucker, the chief, Superintendent Turner, as well as my firearms instructor team. and Conservation Agent Matt Pinella for kind of assisting with this project. For those at home that don't know who I am, Mike Scovera, Detective Lieutenant for Kingston PD. In that role, I oversee our special operations, which includes our tactical training and firearms training, which is why I'm before you tonight for our firearms training range request. See if this works. Oh, good. Look at that.
I
Beautiful.
don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I like it. You do have a memo, as you mentioned, Mr. Crone. There's a few maps in here as well, a little bit more detail. Essentially, this PowerPoint presentation I have for you is covering what's in the memo if you haven't had the opportunity to review it. I also have a letter from Superintendent Turner that I intend to read as well. But just real quick, I won't waste a lot of your time. Why is there a need for a firearms range? Obviously, in the profession of policing, that is important that we train with these, with our firearms, as well as other weapon systems like less lethal shotguns, tasers. There's obviously a lot of tactical needs based off the nature of our profession. The MPTC, which is the board that governs what we do training-wise, requires that we train with our firearms at least twice per year. Also, we have to train with our less lethal shotguns at least once per year, tasers at least once per year, and then we do other tactical training. I wanted to put in there, there's obviously, these are the minimum requirements we're talking about, right? And obviously, we would like to go above the minimum requirements that the state puts on us for the state. Some background, we used to shoot at the old transfer station way back in the day, more than a decade before it was redone. And since that time, I've been a firearms instructor for approximately 10 years, 9-10 years. Since that time, we've just been borrowing favors from other police departments. Plimpton, Halifax, Bridgewater, Pembroke, wherever we can find range time and they're willing to have us, we've been going to those towns. Obviously, that creates some sort of logistical issues, traveling, some unfamiliarity with the ranges we're using. We're putting these other departments out. And then we run into issues where if we have a firearm go down, in fact, we have one in the armory right now that had a malfunction, that if we don't have time on the range or a range to go to address that, that firearm's going to be out of service till we can address that, right? That also would apply to less lethal shotguns and other equipment. And then, of course, scheduling issues that come up with these other departments, with these other ranges. There's occasionally double bookings that occur, poor weather, then we try to find another day to do it. We're unable to find time. Just some of the background as to why I'm before you today. Some cost considerations relative to this. So the alternative, if we essentially run out of good faith with other departments and trying to borrow from them, is paying for a private gun range. Some departments in the area do that. I believe, don't quote me, but I believe Plymouth is paying about $10,000 to $12,000 for the Plymouth run and gun. I know Hanson pays, a couple different departments pay to use their private gun ranges in their areas. That still, there's obviously a cost to use the range in several $1,000s per training event. And then there's also those same issues of if you have a weapon go down, if you need to do remedial training or extra training with an officer that didn't maybe perform as well as others, it's difficult to get range time without paying for that extra time. Obviously, then the cost of building the range comes up, right? So if we were to build this range in the proposed space, and I'll show you a little bit more later where that proposed space is, we currently anticipate, besides the manpower and equipment and obviously fuel to run that equipment that Superintendent Turner has through highway, really no additional costs. It's just his crew, his equipment. He anticipates the ability to build this range on the parcel that we're discussing. If he's unable to build the berm, the backdrop for where we fire high enough to be something that we're comfortable with, we think he actually is able to based off the distance he told me. But if for whatever reason it's not enough, he anticipates approximately $1,000 to bring in an excavator to lift the dirt up and bring it even higher. But that's if he's unable to raise it to the standards that we hope, and it sounds like he'll be able to. And then one thing that I'll address later as well is we may end up having to fire lead-free ammo, and we intend to at this point. And that would be a slight increase to our regular ammo cost per year. It's like $40 to $60 per case more than what we're currently firing, which is 1,000 rounds per case. So it really only comes out to about $250 to $500 per year. And I give that range because some of the ranges that we use already require that. So it's not unusual for us to stock lead-free ammo as well.
Can I stop you there? So
yeah.
Is that just straight up environmental reasons? Is
yes,
that why?
Correct.
Has that been brought up by staff?
Could I just jump in real quick? I apologize. So we were talking about it today, Lieutenant Scovera at the department head meeting. There was some questions, concerns raised about surface water. There's some old cranberry bogs, things of that nature. There's also some monitoring wells for the former landfill. So frankly, to try to address that proactively, knowing there's what I would think is a minimal increase in cost of ammunition, to proactively address that so we're not dealing with potential contaminations 10, 15 years down the road. It was my suggestion to the chief and to the lieutenant to just offer to use this type of ammunition to proactively just reduce the risk of any potential contamination. So I'm not an expert. You are much more of an expert
I'm not
than
an
I am,
expert either.
but, that's the rationale.
I know the cost for me to shoot lead-free ammo is, I don't go to that range. Because it's, not always, that's not always the case, but if you're shooting a lot at the range, so you and the chief and your department are the experts. My question is there any concern about the costs? I know you're saying it's a little bit more money, but if you're shooting a lot more, especially if you have a home range, now instead of you're just traveling and getting in time, there's going to be guys using that range a lot more. Is there any issues that you guys see coming up with that?
Yeah, fair. So based on my estimates of what we typically expend in ammunition per year and what the price difference is between our standard duty ammunition and lead-free ammo, it comes out to approximately $540 a year in difference. Now, I put the range at $250 to $500 per year because we're not always shooting duty ammo, and we already sometimes have lead-free ammo for some of the ranges we use. So, for instance, we've used Halifax range somewhat frequently. They require lead-free as well. So that's already something that's somewhat calculated into our budget, and I don't anticipate that being a major impact as far as us planning for equipment-wise. Now, to your point, if guys are shooting more, right, that they would then potentially be additional cost there, but realistically, if they're shooting in addition to the standard across-the-board department training, there's a good chance we'd be asking them to purchase their own ammo and have to be compliant with our expectations.
Okay.
So if they're going above and beyond and they want to use the range as a member of the department, they are potentially purchasing their own ammo.
Fair enough. Thank you.
So some site selection considerations. Obviously, we did a voluminous review, and I got to thank my firearms instructors for this. They did a pretty voluminous review of all the town-owned property with the clerk's office and found essentially any town-owned property that this could work for. And that consisted of ensuring it's accessible, right? Is it landlocked or not? It's also the restrictions we had to consider. It has to be at least 500 feet from a residence, 150 feet from a roadway, not conservation property. And then other considerations, which is going to come up a little bit with this tonight, is whether or not it's protected property like wetlands, right, and stand back distances from that. That really left us with one viable property, which is this parcel, I believe it is 66-30. It's the wastewater and transfer station property. So those considerations we just discussed, the lead-free ammo considerations, relative to environmental, that's exactly all it is. It's an environmental concern more than anything, getting into the groundwater. There is some remediation you can do relative to that, but it gets expensive, and realistically, using lead-free rather than remediating the lead out of the berm is probably a lot cheaper to just use the lead-free than bringing in a company to remediate it. Wetland standoff distance, environmental consideration. Conservation agent did us a solid and looked at the standoff from the wetlands as to this parcel. There is a small portion of this parcel that is considered DEP wetlands. Under our regulations, which are pretty much the standard regulations throughout the state, we have to be at least 100 feet away from wetlands to be able to use the property at all, although you can apply for a permit through the Conservation Commission to bypass that and under certain conditions. As designed, we will not be within that 100 feet is my best estimation. Matt, when he gets back from vacation, is actually going to walk it with me, but it looks like we got plenty of distance. Worst case scenario, we'll address that, possibly with the board's permission, be able to apply for a permit, but I don't at this point anticipate that being an issue at all. I believe we're outside of that 100 feet. Question came up relative to noise considerations. Are people going to hear it? Yes, they are. You can hear the Plimpton gun range, you can hear the Halifax gun range, all from Kingston by the nature of firearms. They're loud. With that said, we'll be reasonable about the time that we're doing it. We're not going to be doing this at 11 o'clock at night. The training standards from the MPTC do require we do low light shooting every so often, but that low light shooting could be 4 p.m. in the winter, right, because of how early it gets dark. So we'll be obviously reasonable relative to the shooting times. Some liability considerations. Mr. Hickey reached out to our insurance company, who indicated there would be no increased premium as a result of this because they understand cops shoot guns. It's the nature of our job. And then also our intent would be, with the board's permission and a suggested motion from you guys, that we restrict access to law enforcement personnel under the control of the police department for us to say, hey, you're allowed there, you're not, so we can post it, right? No trespassing, authorized personnel only, so that we can control who goes in and out of there. And when I get to the map, you'll get an idea as to where exactly it is. And realistically, it would be difficult for anyone from the public to access it anyways, unless they're jumping railroad tracks or highway, or the wastewater plant fence.
If somebody from the board, wanted to take a nice visit, we could probably get a waiver done, right?
I was going to say, you're the one I'm worried about.
The ammunition.
You don't want to buy the right ammo, so.
Right. All right. Just kidding.
Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't show you the map. I shouldn't show you the map where it is. That's going to be the problem. But the ease of access and site clearing, this particular parcel, very easy to access for us as far as parking and everything like that through the transfer station. And it's mostly flat, short vegetation that's easily cleared by Superintendent Turner and his staff.
Yep.
So here's the proposed site. It's slightly different than the original memo you guys received from me. I do have an updated memo if you don't have it. And that's because of this wetlands that's here as well. So to kind of orient everybody, the building that's on the bottom there, that is wastewater treatment plant. This is a transfer station. Then we have the wetlands here, and this red line here, the dotted line, is the 100-foot standoff. As designed, the blue is the shooting area, the light blue is kind of a staging area. We'd be staging in this area, pretty much standing in this area, shooting this direction towards the top of the parcel. As you can see, there's some distance here. It's about 25, 30 feet from the furthest point of the range at the 50-yard line before you get to the 100-foot standoff from the wetlands. You'll see that we're approximately 30 feet off of the property line, and then from the nearest residence, which you'll see more detailed on the next slide, to the property line, so not even to where we're shooting, but to the property line, is 508 feet. And again, we have to be outside of 500 feet. So we're there plus another 30 feet.
Quick question for you.
Sure.
So, as you're riding by on the train coming back, are you going to see people
Yes.
shooting?
Yes, this has come up. It is visible from where we are,
Okay.
depending on how large the berm gets built, and we're hoping Sean can build the berm nice and high.
Right.
But it's where our intent to pay attention to train schedule times. You can see the train, by the nature of where exactly it is right here, we're coming out of or going into the station, so it's going slow at the time.
Yeah.
You can see it coming a while up. Our intent is to call a ceasefire, not actively be firing rifles as they're driving by.
Well,
I mean,
I'm also
at least,
wondering-
at least if they're calling in some, like an armed militia, they're calling the right people.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
the calls coming,
We got
calls-
radios on, so.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right there to answer the question.
Yeah,
So it's
we'll
easy.
be able to clear that call pretty quickly. So.
And I'm wondering if I'm not a landscaper, but I'm wondering if Sean could plant some like arborvitae or something that grows up and blocks the view too.
Great point.
Might not be, it might not block it in the first year, but hopefully something that grows and could block it.
Yeah, and the this little buffer here that we intend to leave 30 feet-ish off
Yeah.
the property line, there is some decent vegetation here, but as you can see on this map, this is pretty accurate. It is spaced out a little bit, but so
Okay.
we're going to leave a little bit of a tree line distance, but great point. We could probably fill in the vegetation if possible.
Okay.
Any questions on this site location stuff as is? Thank you. A little bit more zoomed out. So here's the range location, just to kind of orient everybody a little bit better. Range location, wastewater, transfer station, across the railroad tracks. You got Copper Beach, you got the schools, and now this is obviously Route 3, and this is the old Exit 9, as everybody knows it, now known as Exit 18. Just to kind of give you an idea, train station right here, and that's what I was talking about, where the train's slowing down, coming in and out of there, so we can see it coming pretty far. This is the site. Obviously, it's just trees and dirt, not much to see right now. But what you might notice is how flat this is. This is generally pretty flat. It is not going to be difficult to level out. Sean indicated that he was surprised, actually, by how little there is as far as large vegetation to clear. These large trees on the right won't need to be cleared. Generally, it's right down here, and it's very small vegetation as far as diameter. He can clear it right out, no problem at all, he said. These are some other ranges that we use as an example. You'll notice the berm height is relatively low, so we have Halifax here and Plimpton here. This is the Halifax range parking area just off the range here. You'll notice there is some asphalt down here. Maybe eventually that's something we would like to do. It makes cleanup a little bit easier, getting those shell casings so we're not missing them in the dirt, things of that nature. But our intent is to build the berm a little bit higher. Sean indicated he can probably get 16, 17 feet, which is probably another 4 or 5 feet above this Plimpton Range one, which I think would be plenty. And like we said, if absolutely necessary, we could probably even build it higher by bringing in a company as well. And this is the standard qualifying distances you see marked off, which we would intend to do something like that as well, just mark off the qualifying distances. And then right before I finish up, I do have a letter from Mr. Turner that I'd like to read real quick, just showing his support for it. He indicates that Honorable Selectman Mr. Hickey, I'm writing this letter April 22nd, 2025, in favor of the police putting in a shooting range at the transfer station on town property. Last Friday the 18th, I met with Lieutenant Scavera on site to look at the plans. We went over a few different options, and this parcel seems to be the best fit for their shooting range. There will be a few days' worth of work to clear out some small scrub pine trees and scrape down the land. We have most of the dirt already on site to build the required berm needed behind their targets. There may be a minimal cost to the police department as discussed with the lieutenant, but we aren't sure until they get the approval from the board and conservation. As far as I see, there will be no impact to residents visiting the transfer station, as most training will be done on days the transfer station will be closed. This department will help as needed, and obviously I want to thank Sean for his help with the project so far already. Is there any questions? Thank you.
Looks great.
So just a quick comment. So Kim obviously is not here tonight. She called me yesterday, and her only concern with this, which I haven't talked to the chief yet. I talked to Keith this afternoon. Kim's concern is the noise with the neighbors, and thought that we should be doing a public hearing for people who would be within the range that would be affected by it. I don't disagree with her. I fully support this, and I feel like, I would argue for this, but that's just something that Kim brought up. So I'm not sure how you guys feel about it. But if we had to do a hearing, what would that be, 2 weeks?
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be, it'd be a public hearing, but it doesn't have to meet the posting requirements. We could hold it 2 weeks from today. I spoke to the chief about it. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he's happy to attend and hear any feedback anybody has on that. So that shouldn't be a problem. And again, we can publicize on the website and make people aware of what's going on. So if they want to come in, either remotely or in person to voice any concerns they have, they can do that. So that'd be fine. If I could just make one more comment.
Yeah.
Just in case somebody 5 years from now comes back to watch this tape. Because they may. The only concern I have respectfully is I don't want to overpromise when you're going to use the range.
Yes.
You had said, or the letter that Mr. Turner had provided said that the range would only be used, or will be used primarily when the transfer station is closed, which is, I think, what, Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday?
I could elaborate on that a little bit.
I would
Yes.
just,
Thursday, Friday.
okay, I'm sorry. So I don't go to the transfer station here, obviously. So, I guess from my point of view, and I don't know what your schedules are, are you not going to shoot on a weekend? Is that a norm? But during the week, it would be. I just don't want people to, like I said, somebody will find this when they're upset about the noise on a Tuesday morning
Right.
and say that it wasn't going to be open or used when the transfer station was open. I just want to make sure that we're under-promising and over-delivering on that. That's all.
Yes, yeah, I'd be happy to address that. Thank you. So currently, the transfer station is closed Thursday and Fridays. I expressed to Mr. Turner that our intent would be to do our primary training, our department-wide 8, 10, 12 people there on the days he's closed, just realistically, so the public's not pulling up and going, what the heck's going on over there, right? So primarily, most of our training, our current intent is to do on those Thursdays and Fridays. But with that said, there may be officers that want to get extra training in that we have to do remedial training with. There may be firearms that go down. So I would anticipate the other days, it might be onesies or twosies, a smaller number of officers firing, therefore less noise overall. But to that point, there could be large-scale training events we do on other days that sometimes isn't when they're closed. It's just the current intent is primarily when the transfer station is closed.
So would you do it on the weekends? Is there a chance you guys might do it on the
There is a chance, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, maybe I'm being overly sensitive, but unless you want to increase recycling rates by having shooting when the transfer station's open all the time, it might increase recycling rates if that's what they think the shooting's for. I just would want to make sure that the board potentially considers this as something that's going to be open 7 days a week, and you'll try to keep it, if you can, on your department-wide training to a Thursday, Friday. But I don't think I just want to make sure we don't say we're not going to do it any other day, and we do.
Yes, yeah, no, totally understood, and that's completely accurate. We could potentially do it, of course, with the board's blessing, any day of the week. It's just our intent to do most of it on the Thursdays and Fridays that they're closed.
How many yards is it from the farthest corner of the transfer station?
From the farthest corner of the transfer station to the...
Or sorry, like the closest corner to where you'd be. So
So we'd be
fairly
right here,
close.
and then the transfer station is right here. I did not measure that out, but I would anticipate, just looking at this, approximately 50 yards. This dark blue is 50 yards.
Okay.
So, roughly similar distance.
Okay. Thank you.
And keep in mind, I mean, I do support having a public hearing, but this is a noisy area. It's a corner, there's a train station, there's the highway, there's the transfer station, which does make noise. I mean, it's not super quiet. But having said that, if you have, say, 10 guys there shooting, how many rounds is each? Just curious, like how many shots that would be? Like like each officer firing 40?
So let me think of an average training day. Let's say roughly, I don't want to underestimate, so let's say 150 to 200 rounds per officer. So say 10 officers, 200 rounds, up to 2,000 rounds, roughly.
Yeah, okay.
Within a live fire time, as far as, we're not talking about drills, we're not round circle talking about policies or anything like that. We're actually live firing, is probably a total of 2.5 to 2.5 hours of firing spread out throughout 6 hours of day. So it's firing for a little bit, changing the training plan, talking about what people did well, what they did poorly, and then firing again, things like that.
Okay. That makes sense. So what is the board's thoughts about holding off until we have a public hearing? Is there any...
I mean, I
support that, or?
I support putting one in, but I totally understand public hearing.
I don't care really about the public hearing, but I'll do it. I'd
either way.
I'd vote on it right now if the board wanted to. I think it's it's the town's land. It's for the public safety. They've already went through the purpose of finding that there's not a lot of places to do it. It's the kind of area you would want to do it. I mean,
I know in Pembroke, where the fields are, you play soccer there. I think it's a private range.
In your old colony?
Yeah, you can hear it while the kids are playing soccer, and it doesn't really seem to be.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to complain about gunshots. I mean, it's like I'm a duck hunter.
Sure,
People
they're going to
complain-
call. They'll call it in a couple times.
I mean, I don't know. If the board, if one person on the board wants to move it to
Right.
to 2 weeks from now and invite the public in, I'm happy to do it. I'm just kind of.
I think I would lean on the side of caution, but again, even if we had, a few people who were against the noise, it's still something that's important that we need to have. But I just feel like giving folks the chance to speak up before we make a decision is probably the smart thing to do. Sure. And builds more trust with our public safety. Not that it's your fault, it would be our fault for voting it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
that's fine. It's fine with me.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't think we need to make any motion. We don't need to motion to put it off. So, well, do we need to make a motion to do a public hearing?
No, I don't think so. I think you've given staff some direction. The public hearing will be on Tuesday evening, May 6th, and we'll make sure that we'll publicize something on the website, just letting people know that there will be a public hearing on the 6th to hear any concerns about, and if you don't mind, Lieutenant, maybe a couple of the maps, just identify where it is, so we could put that up on the website as well, just to be able to illustrate what we're looking at, and...
Be happy to.
Sure.
And thank you, Lieutenant. This was an excellent presentation. You guys put a lot of thought into this for sure, in terms of planning on where to put it as well. That's what I mean.
Yeah, thank you.
But also in the presentation. So thank you for making it very clear, and you answered all our questions.
Yeah, and to find something almost free
Yeah.
for the town,
Yeah,
so.
I know.
thank you.
Can't beat that.
That's
Absolutely.
great work between you and Sean to be able to really make this thing happen.
Yep.
So I do have a sort of a technical question, though. The non-lead rounds,
Yes.
are they still, does it change accuracy or anything with the shooting?
It depends,
Just
really.
curious.
There's a different manufacturer, there's a different grain. Sometimes we call it dirtier on the gun. It
Yeah.
requires a little bit more maintenance on the gun. But as far as at the ranges we're shooting, it's not going to make any noticeable difference for
Yeah.
practical, tactical training.
So when you guys are competing against each other, the chief can't say, if I had had lead bullets, I'd have shot better. Yeah. All right.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, and also with that, everything's short range too, I mean, right? This is,
Thanks,
I
Mike,
mean,
that was great.
yeah, this is a short
Yeah.
range.
This yard, no, this ours. All right, I got it. Thank you.
All right, next item. We have a request for 6 one-day liquor licenses from 42nd Parallel Brewing Company for Grays Beach Music Nights. Stephen Darby of 42nd Parallel Brewing Company is requesting a one-day liquor license for Grays Beach Music Nights, June 24th, July 8th, July 22nd, August 5th, August 19th, and September 2nd. The application that was signed off on by the Chief of Police and Fire, hold on, am I reading this right? Provided with the application that was signed off on by the Chief of Police and Fire as a certificate of insurance. Recreation Director Susan Woodworth requested to approve this request with any rain dates that may be necessary. Any comments or questions?
Nope.
All right, somebody want to make a motion?
I move the Board of Selectmen approve the 6 one-day liquor license requests from Stephen Darby of 42nd Parallel Brewing Company for Grays Beach Music Nights at Grays Beach for June 24th, 2025, July 8th, 2025, July 22nd, 2025, August 5th, 2025, August 19th, 2025, and September 2nd, 2025, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., along with any rain dates that may be determined by the Recreation Commission.
Do I have a
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. Last item, appointment of wastewater laborer. Due to a promotion within the wastewater department, there's a vacancy. After the recruitment process, Superintendent David Walsh is recommending the hiring of Ryan McKee to the position. Any questions or comments? Or motion?
I move to appoint Ryan McKee to the position of wastewater laborer, a full-time grade 3, step 3, non-exempt position within KTEU labor with the wastewater department with an anticipated start date of April 28th, 2025, contingent with the terms in the offer letter.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we don't have any meeting minutes. Town administrator report?
Thank you, sir. A couple of things. The fire department received a couple of grants, one for student awareness of fire education, the amount of $4,682, senior awareness of fire education for $2,200, and a firefighter safety equipment grant of $4,554. Also, at the recommendation of our interim streets, trees, and parks superintendent, we are extending the paving contract with our vendor at $95.48 a ton. That is a 2-year-old number. Right now, if we had to go back out to bid, we'd be looking at probably $112 a ton for asphalt. So we're going to exercise that second year extension, which is great news. As everybody I'm sure is aware, if they've traveled on Main Street, the final coat of asphalt is being put down. There are detours that people are having to follow. Staff worked really well together to come up with detour routes, worked with the state. There's going to be some ramp closures on and off Route 3. 1 or 2 days of the project. We'll try to announce those prior to, if we know what those dates are going to be. The work day is from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. There are traffic delays because they are requiring alternating traffic. So if you can avoid the area, I'd suggest you do that. It's supposed to be done Friday, which is great. And once they're finished, it'll be a much smoother ride for those traveling on that section of Main Street. I expect to have our interim Streets and Parks Superintendent, Sean Turner, here at the May 6th board meeting to present the list of recommended roads he's suggesting be paved with our Chapter 90 money. Going to try to be a little more aggressive with that this year, I think. And then lastly, found out today that the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs has awarded Kingston a $44,000 grant to update the town's housing production plan and housing needs assessment, which is a requirement to be done every several years. It's an executive order that requires this. The local match is about $12,000 and will be funded by the Affordable Housing Trust and the Planning Board, Public Accounts, and the Old Colony Planning Department will be performing the work. The work will take about a year. Expect it to be done sometime in April of next year. I don't have any personnel or miscellaneous updates. And just hope everybody had a nice Easter with their families.
Thank you. Any other comments? Does anybody have any announcements?
No, I think just the big one, which is Saturday.
That is right.
Saturday town meeting.
Be there.
9 a.m.? Is it 9 a.m.? Sorry, now I want to go speak about it. I forgot what time it was.
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Yeah, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, town meeting, 9 o'clock. Be there, be square. It's supposed to be, the weather looks bad, so that's great
Right.
it's awesome for town meeting.
Lots of kids
Yeah.
games cancellation.
That's right. And our next regular meeting is May 6th, so that's 2 weeks from tonight, and that's Tyler's last meeting, I think, right? 7, yeah.
Unless there's an emergency between then and May 16th.
Right, we might have to just come up with one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.